Exercise 4D is multiplying terms. In 4C, what we were doing was adding terms, and we found that we could only add the like terms, right? They had to be exactly alike. Whereas when multiplying, as well as dividing in 4E, you can multiply any terms at all. But there is a way that we show that in algebra. So in multiplying terms, we'll have a look here. You could have A times B, and in algebra that's written as AB. The multiplying sign is not shown, but we know that it is. So if we had 5 times A times B, that would be 5AB. So that's fairly straightforward. We can see that. This one here is the expanded form. This one here is the expanded form. And this is its common algebraic form. So you're either writing it in simplified form, which is this one with the circle, or you're writing it in expanded form, which is the one that I've underlined. So far, so good. The next thing we want to have a look at is when a term is multiplied by itself, such as A times A. A times A is only one way it can be written in simplified terms, and that is A squared, or A to the power of 2, which means A multiplied by itself twice. It does not mean 2A. Now, many people make that mistake. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that at all. It means multiplied by itself twice. So then if we had this, A times A times A, that will equal A to the power of 3. Because A multiplied by itself 3 times. When you have A multiplied by itself once, it's A. A multiplied by itself twice is A squared, and A multiplied by itself 3 times is A to the power of 3. And that same goes for 2. So any digit would be the same. 2 times 2 times 2 will equal 2 to the power of 3, but we can also write that as 8. Okay, so having a look at that, we can multiply any terms in algebra at all, no dramas. We can multiply unlike terms. Generally, we don't show the multiplying sign, but a term or a number multiplied by itself is raised to a power. It is not, such as A times A equals A squared. It is not 2 times A, because 2 times A is 2 lots of A, which is A plus A, to A plus A, 2 lots of A. So if I had 3 times A, it would be A plus A plus A. Whereas A times A times A is to the power of 3. And that's something that we need to remember in this and in future sections. The first couple in exercise 4D, the first 4, are fairly straightforward. So I'm going to have a look at 5 and 6. So when we have question 5A, 7 times 3 is going to be 21, and A times C will be AC. Now, in algebra, we write the pronumerals or the variables in alphabetical order. So that becomes 21AC. In part B, of course, we remember that there's negative numbers and all the number laws apply. So that's negative 30. You're going to do this neatly in your books, of course. Negative 30p. Why? Because we've got a negative times a positive. And a negative times a positive is always a negative. Remember, all number rules apply. Number laws apply. So let's have a look at, say, part L. Part L, which is negative 2wx times 5wy times negative 4u squared. Negative 4u squared. Okay, so we've got negative 2 times 5 is going to be negative 10 times 40 times, getting ahead of myself, times negative 4 will be 40. So negative times a negative will be a positive. So that becomes 40. And we've got W times W. W times W becomes W squared, because that's multiplied by itself. X is the only one there, so that's X squared. And then we've got Y, and we've got U squared. I'm running out of room. So let's have a look at that and how we would put that in alphabetical order. So that would equal 40. Okay, U squared, W squared, because we're doing it in alphabetical order, X squared, Y. So let me rub that top one out, and that would be our answer to part L. Now we'll move on. We'll have a look at looking at question 6. Now this is just like a times table grid. It's a multiplying grid, same as what's in the back of most workbooks. You find a multiplying grid. So we'll multiply 4a times 3d. We put the answer in there, and that will be 12ad. If we had 3 times 3d, and that's going to be 9d. So I'll do a few of these, and then you can go and do the others. We've got 6m times 3d. 6 times 3 is 18. 18md. And 2abc times 3d. That's 6abcd. You can rule it up and you can make it fit in your book. So 4a times ab squared will be 4a squared b squared. Let's have a look at another one. So we would say 2ab times 5mn, that would go in here. 2ab times 5mn, 2 times 5 equals 10. A, B, C, mn. Now, 2abc times 2ac, the answer would go in here. So therefore it would be 2 times 2 is 4. Let me just get rid of that. 2 times 2 is 4. Then I've got a times a, which is a squared. And then b. And then c times c is c squared. So 4 squared, 4a squared, b, c squared. Across in part B, we've got the same sort of grid, but what we have here, we've got negative numbers. So 3 times negative 2x, 3 times negative 2x will be negative 6 x squared, x times x, x squared. 4xy times negative 2x will be negative 8. Right? And then we've got x squared, yz. So negative 8x squared yz. Let's have a look at another one. 3x times xy squared, that will become 3x squared y squared. And 2x squared, I'll do the very last one, we'll go in here. 2x squared times negative 7yx. So we've got negative 14, x squared, there's no other x, yz. So what I've done here is just the same as what I did in part A, but we're using negative numbers. All right, pretty straightforward. You can fill those ones out.